If the rear brakes on your 14 through 18 Silverado are absolutely toast, well then it's time to start looking at a replacement or maybe even an upgrade like the PowerStop Z36 Truck and Tow Pad and Rotor Kit that we have on the table today. Now this kit will include a brand new set of slotted and drilled rotors along with a brand new set of heavy duty carbon ceramic pads, all for right around that mid to high $200 price point. Install, according to the site here, guys, is good enough to achieve a middle of the road 2 out of 3 wrenches on the old difficulty meter and maybe a couple of hours or so to knock out from start to finish. So when replacing or upgrading the brakes on your rig, you do have a few different options. Obviously, you could always go with the local parts store factory replacements, which will no doubt be one of your most affordable routes. Now, your next step would be to check out maybe an aftermarket set of pads and rotors like the PowerStop kit that we have here today, while still maintaining a good bit of your factory components, such as your lines and also your factory calipers. Now, the third and final option is no doubt the most costly, and that will be to go with a complete hardware replacement and upgrade to a big brake kit from a company like Wilwood or Brembo, but chances are that is no doubt gonna be the most expensive. But let's get into this kit from PowerStop a little further, talk about what you are getting here and what you should expect. Now, the foundation of this kit is the company's cross-drilled and slotted G3000 iron rotor, which, as you can see, has been finished off in a nice silver zinc coating, and that's there to help resist any rust on your non-friction surfaces. Now, that slotted and drilled design is designed to help with cooling, which in turn will reduce some brake fade, especially when these puppies are working hard to haul down a heavy load if you're towing or hauling something big. Now, plus, as an added bonus, they also look pretty cool behind your favorite set of wheels to boot. The second part of the equation here, gang, is the Z36 heavy-duty carbon ceramic pad. Now, if you didn't know, the Z36 is a unique pad and compound built specifically for heavy truck and SUV use, and when combined with the PowerStop rotors, will result in roughly a 20% increase in stopping power, and that is according to the gang over at PowerStop. Now, along with a little bit more initial bite, the compound will be more heat resistant, and again, that's gonna be huge when you're towing or hauling, or even if you've just upgraded the size and diameter of your wheels and tires. That's also gonna help require a little bit more effort to slow down because of the added weight. So whatever you're using your truck for, there certainly is a case to be made here for the Z36. Now, PowerStop's pad compound does consist primarily of that ceramic construction, but obviously there is some carbon baked into the compound, and that will add a little bit more of that initial bite we just talked about. Now, PowerStop does claim that these pads will be a low dust formula overall, but to be fair, I would expect just a little bit more dust over maybe a factory style pad. Now, despite a minor increase in dust, and I do mean minor here, guys, these pads should deliver a noise-free operation. Now, as far as your install is concerned, well, pads and rotors, I would say, are easily one of the basics of automotive 101 wrenching, but since there is some elbow grease involved here, the site is going to kick things up to a solid 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. Maybe call this one a couple of hours to complete from start to finish. But now, to give you a better idea of just what to expect with this job at home, check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
The tools you'll need for this project are a 1/2" and 3/8 drive ratchets, a 13mm socket, an 18mm socket, a 13/16 wrench, and a caliper piston compression tool. Today we're installing a set of brakes on our Silverado, so let's get started with the uninstall first. The process we're going to use to uninstall our old brake system is we're going to remove the caliper first, then we're going to remove the caliper mounting bracket, and then finally the rotor. So let's get started by removing the caliper. And for that, we're going to use our 13mm socket and a 13/16 wrench. So we're going to use our 13/16 wrench to put on this nut right here on the guide pin to keep it from spinning when we undo the bolt. So we use our 13mm socket on that side. Now we'll get the one on the top. Now we just pull our caliper away and put it somewhere that's going to take the tension off of the brake hose. Now we're going to remove the 2 bolts in the back using our 18mm socket. and then just pull our mounting bracket away from the rotor. Now you should be able to pull your rotor straight out from the axle, but if you have issues where it seems like it's stuck, you can use a little penetrating lubricant around the edge of the drum here, and then use a large hammer to hammer on the outside here to help break it loose. Now these rotors are side specific to the vehicle, so you need to make sure that you grab the correct rotor for the correct side that you're working on. Now ours is easy to identify because it's got a sticker on here that says rear driver's side. But if your sticker happens to be missing, you can also tell by looking along the outside edge here where they have the maximum and minimum depths of the rotor itself, as well as the part number on it. Now, in addition to the part number, at the very end, it'll say L or R, depending on which side of the vehicle. L will be the driver's side, R will be the passenger side. One other way you can tell to make sure you've got the right one is looking at the slots on the rotor. As long as the end of the slot on the outside of the rim is pointing towards the back of the vehicle, you've got the right one. Now the next thing we're going to do is just use some brake cleaner, clean off the outside contact edges of the rotor just to make sure that there's no manufacturing residue or anything that may have gotten on it during shipping. So we just go ahead and spray this down, and using a clean cloth, we'll just go ahead and wipe it off. Make sure there's nothing left on there. And then do the same thing for the back side. Now you also want to make sure that you get the inside where the parking brake will be making contact. So now that you've got it cleaned, we can go ahead and install this on the truck. Now we can just reverse the way that we took this off and just slide it over the studs. Now we can go ahead and remove the old pads and the anti-rattle clips from the caliper mounting bracket so that we can go ahead and install the new ones. Now to remove these, you should just be able to twist them out or push them and remove the pads. So we can just go ahead and twist them out and remove it. And then for the anti-rattle clips, just need to pull them away from the mounting bracket. Now we can go ahead and install the new ones and get this back on the truck. Now we can just go ahead and press these new rattle clips into the mounting bracket, and the spring tension will hold them in place. Now, once you've got those in, we can go ahead and install the new pads. Now the kit does come with some silicone lube, and I recommend that you put them on the ends where the pads slide into the mounting bracket, and also on the back side where the caliper piston will be pressing against it. Now since we're not making this a permanent addition to our truck, we're not going to put the lube on, but now you have the idea of what you should do for yours. Now with the lube applied to the pads, you can go ahead and insert this back into the mounting bracket. And you want to make sure that the pad that has the wear indicator on it is towards the inside of the vehicle where the caliper piston is going to be. So then we just slide this in like so, and then do the same thing for the outside. And now we can go ahead and slide this back over the rotor and attach it with the original hardware. Go ahead and install our bolts. We'll tighten them down with our 18mm socket. Now while you're here, you might want to go ahead and make sure that your pads are fully seated against the rotor, just to make it easier when we install the caliper. Now the next step before we can install our caliper is we need to compress the piston inside the caliper, because the new rotor and the new pads are going to be much thicker than what you took off. So to do that, we're going to use this caliper piston compression tool and insert it into the caliper like so, with that plate there against the piston and the black plate against the outside of the caliper. Once you've got that in, all you have to do is squeeze the handle. Do this, and you want to do this slowly to keep from blowing brake fluid back out through the top of the master cylinder. So just slowly squeeze it until the piston is completely compressed inside the caliper. Once you do that, you can release the lever. Now we can go ahead and install our caliper over the brake pads and reinstall with the original hardware. Now we'll go ahead and tighten it down with our 13mm socket and our 13/16 wrench. And now you can repeat that whole process for the other side. And that wraps up our review and install of the PowerStop Z36 Extreme Truck and Tow 6th lug brake rotor and pad kit for the rear of your 14 to 18 Silverado. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.